speed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We was like buildings as the chemicals take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun. As she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light. Pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop. As we shout from the top, we're gonna be 200 wild.
Hello, hello, hello. We should be live. I'm a little bit cat. That was better, I think. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, fine day, whatsoever. It seems to be a little bit lucky this morning, but hopefully everything will go a bit smoother soon. Yeah, I'm here to hang out with you guys and crochet a bit, and that's pretty much it. Today I've actually changed my poncho to a lighter one. It is the happiness poncho. Absolutely gorgeous, wonderful fit. It is a little bit of the pointy end. It's made in the hobby twister yarn, and I had to add a bit of extra cake here in the length to, yeah, just make it large enough, I guess you want to say. So that was a different poncho. And it is definitely poncho weather. There is a storm coming in here tomorrow, apparently. And I have to say, I haven't really checked how bad it's going to be, but well, there is a storm coming, so that's not so cool. So it's going to be a rainy day tomorrow. But today, it's dry. It's not exactly sunny. Sometimes the sun comes by, but the weather is okay. Good morning, Megan. Good morning. Let's just see if we have Nightbot with us just for the weather's sake. Hello and good morning to you, Susan. And we have the weather with us. We are just shy of 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so 59 degrees Fahrenheit, about 15 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from southwest at 8 miles an hour, and the current humidity is 76, which probably is pretty valid, to be honest. I have my 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, so my F hook. We're gonna proceed from where we left off Monday on the LapsangTea Shawl. Because I did not work on it since. I have been working on the fleur, and also I have been working on some scrunchies because I was watching some TV Monday evening together with my partner, and neither this shawl nor fleur is very couch watching TV friendly project. So I had I brought some hair ties and I crocheted some scrunchies. So I just need 2 weave-in ends. That's the only thing I'm missing. But I have 4 pairs of scrunchies here that I have made earlier this week. So of course we can always weave in ends if we get totally bored working on the shawl, I guess. As well as I need to do the calculation still on the yarn I have for the hat I want to do. I have this what is it called? The chunky rib knit beanie that I want to make, and I still need to calculate to get the right needles because I'm unsure if I might actually need something bigger than an 8 millimeter needles for it. If I might need to have like 9 or 10 millimeters. So I'll have to do a little bit of math, or maybe I'll just have to cast on stitches and see how it's going to go. But this is the yarn we're working with today, because the project today is to progress on the shawl. And as you can really see now, especially when looking on top of it, it is, we are making progress on the cake. So there is something, oh, now I just need to keep track of my other yarn so it doesn't get stuck and snuck in other places. And the weather in New Jersey right now in the US of A is a little bit fresher than here in the Netherlands. Fair enough. It is also early on the day there, because it's like, what, 8 in the morning? Conditions are partially cloudy with a temperature of 54 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 12 degrees Celsius, and the wind is blowing from a southwest at 7 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 96. I would say it's just been raining then, based on that humidity. I definitely would say so. So let's pop this friend down. We may have to do like this. And I think I didn't change the coloration too much. So my hands are actually decent to watch at. They're not like super white. That's actually not too bad. Also, my mug is here with us. I have a warm cup of Russian Earl Grey. Not because it comes from Russia, but I don't know why it's called the Russian Earl Grey. It is from Lipton. It's an English brand, tea brand. They make lots of different lovely teas. And in this case, the Russian Earl Grey is basically like an Earl Grey, but with a flavor of lemon. And I believe they even use Spanish lemons for it. So I don't know why they're calling it a Russian Earl Grey when it has a zest of lemon in it. Susan says I use 6.5mm needles for 2 strands, worsted weight yarn for chunky rib knit beaning, but I knit loosely. Yeah, well, I'm a bit of a tighter. I might be okay with the 8mm, but I will have to basically try. And I'm still not sure if I reach the cast on before the yarn talk video. We will have to see. Anyhow, where I am on this project is at a bunch of back post, front posts. It is mainly, it's mainly back posts, and then we do front posts around the puff stitch popcorns from the previous row. Megan says she's also in New Jersey. Oh, so we have 2 New Jerseyans. I don't know if that has a specific name when you're from New Jersey. Like you're Danish if you're from Denmark, and you're English if you're from the UK, etc. Would you be New Jerseyan or New Jerseys? Oh, let me know, because I wouldn't know, but I would like to know. And I do understand from this that we are talking about what exits you're on the highway, on the interstate. So it sounds like it is a small world. It is a small world, and I love when people reach one another and meet one another, and who knows? Maybe you girls end up in a crochet hangout coffee meet one day. But I've also learned that even though you might be from the same state, doesn't necessarily mean that you're neighbors. It's basically the same conclusion. Like, I know a lot of people being like, especially when I was younger, they were like, "Oh, you're from Denmark, so you speak German." Like, because Denmark neighbor Germany doesn't necessarily mean that you speak German. It kind of depends on where in Denmark you're from, or if you had it in school. I did have German in school. That said, I wasn't very good at German when I went to school and when I was learning it. And I didn't use it for many years. And then when I actually could really use it, I kind of had to relearn, so that was a bit of a steep curve. And then when I started learning Dutch, my German really improved heaps, and now my German is, I would say, pretty okay actually. Fluent, not, but I can definitely make myself understandable to the average German. The exit number is a Jersey thing, so you don't have this classic, like, so in Europe when you drive on highway, let's say 1, you'll have the exit 1, 2, 3, etc., and that gives a pretty good indication about where you are along that road. That is, if people know it. Ellen's Crochets from up there somewhere, Megan. Okay, so there are definitely some New Jerseyans. I don't think I've met Ellen's Crochet, so we have to get her to peek in at some stage if she is alive and happy and kicking and not busy with working at this time of the day. I get for some it's early, especially inconvenient, obviously, if you have to go to work. But there's also a bunch of people who have the blessed to be either retired or to have enough money not to need to work, or being a stay-at-home housewife. I am neither of them. I do have to work. I definitely don't have enough money not to work. Which obviously would be not bad. I would definitely do a lot of other things with my life if I didn't have to work. But I do actually have a pretty good job. And as you guys know, my contract got extended, so I am super happy because it has given me freedom for the next at least year to almost do whatever I want, except for the fact I need to put in X hours at my job. But it does give me a very nice, happy freedom. I'm a lot less stressed. Even like at some stage, I wasn't sure about my partner because when I got this job, it's a part-time job, right? So I work on paper, at least I work 24 hours a week. Some weeks I work a little more, some weeks I work a little less, but it comes pretty close. And I wasn't completely sure when I applied and got this job what my partner would say, because he was like, I need to check the pattern just a moment because we're at the center here. Because I used to work full time, and full time in the Netherlands is 40 hours a week. So I wasn't really sure because he was like, yeah, you should want to find a full time job, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm kind of not really in the mood to work full time after the job I just had, basically. Because that was quite stressful. Let's see. I should have 6, 2, 4, 6, which I have one more that fits, and then I just need to have 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the center. Okay, easy peasy. But actually, he's also quite happy to get an extended because I think he can feel on me as well that I am a lot less stressed than I was with my old job, which means that I also have more energy to undertake other things in life, and I'm just generally a happier person. And financially, this difference is 200, like $250 a month that I get paid less, but I work a lot less. So technically, I got a pay raise. Like if you look at the hours or time spent. Look up Ellen, she's good and she makes a lot of items. Okay. I've also found some NJ knitting channels. Yeah, so I'm not, I have to say, I'm not a solid knitter, but practice makes perfect. Right now, I guess it's just not 100% prioritized. I'd like to get this made, I guess, and the blanket. And once that's done, I can like look full love on maybe what I should do for next week. Or at some stage, the yarn isn't running anywhere. I need to find that yarn that I want to use for the cowl. Susan, you shared this pattern with us about a week ago on this absolutely gorgeous cowl, knit cowl, which I think I have the perfect yarn for, basically. 2, 4, 6, 7. Megan says, sadly, I'm a terrible knitter and I've fallen in love with crochet. So what I really like about crochet is that we can make a lot of things that you can't as easy make with knitting. But at the same time, knitting also has its own benefits, I guess. So it kind of all depends on what you want to craft and create. I personally think often that crochet shawls look a lot more intricate than knit shawls. Or maybe it's just because knit shawls seems, I don't know, much more difficult to create when it gets really intricate. I'm not sure. On the other hand, I still have this absolutely adorable sweater or t-shirt I want to knit for myself one day. That is, if the pattern and yarn is still available once I learn those skills, and else I'll find another pattern. Yeah, exactly. So the yarn I have is actually it is a hand dyed yarn from Ice, 100% merino, stock weight, sport weight, and I have 2 of them, 2.5 left actually. So that could work for that specific cowl. I have a sweater knit in that yarn. My mom knit me that sweater. The only downside of the sweater is that I can go a bit static when I wear it, which basically means that, for example, for cooking, then if I have to turn on the oven or something like that, it's like I need to make sure that I am destatized before I touch the oven or I get funks, like sparks. And I'm not really sure how to get rid of that, but it could be that it's related to the soap I've used for washing it. I'm not sure if it's the yarn itself or if it's related to the soap, why it goes static. But it is an absolutely gorgeous yarn. And therefore, as I said, I do have the hanks of it, but it's upstairs. But I think I want to do that chunky version of the beanie first, and once that's sorted and settled, then I'll go look for the other one. But yeah, I don't know if there's a reason to find that yarn before I actually start on the project. Yarn isn't gonna go anywhere. It's happy up in my stash. Another note. So I was prepping my business for a business I have outside the crocheting aspects that I'm going to bring with me this weekend, and that forced me to go through my closet where I keep that, but also have some boxes of excess yarn. And guess what I found? I found that acrylic yarn that I had originally attempted or planned to pair up for the chunky beanie. But I'm actually pretty happy with my alternative choice. So I'm still just gonna go along with that. But I think it's quite funny, to be honest, that I ended up finding the alternative yarn. I'm just gonna use that yarn with something else. I do have a thin weight, sport weight alpaca, which I was considering that I could combine it with. I think that could probably work out great. Finding yarn is always fun. Yeah, especially because I was like, I know I have it. But so the thing was, when I had to clear out and sort stuff this summer, um, then I somehow ended up splitting my stash of scraps into two, because the thing was actually that the scraps I had outgrown their current box. So I ended up finding a new box to kind of split some of it into. So that's what happened. And then I found the original box, but it wasn't in there because I'd moved it to the new box. But I found the new box in the other. I'd just forgotten that I'd made two boxes of it. There you see. Normally I know exactly where my yarns are without fault. Um, the only difference sometimes might be that I could tell you, like I might have 2 or 3 boxes it could be in, but it's definitely in one of those boxes. So maybe I'll look in 1 or 2 wrong, but it's definitely gonna be in the third then. But this one was a new one. I tend to have a really good idea of where I have things. Good afternoon, Hille. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a great Wednesday. Can't believe it's already Wednesday. This week is going fast. I have an appointment tonight, which I'm actually oddly looking out for. Hopefully, I'm gonna get my neck sorted and the rest of my body, because I signed myself up for a professional detensioning massage. So I'm having some extremely tense muscles around my neck, shoulder area, that I can actually feel that it's physically impacting me and my health. And this therapist is one I've never seen before, so I'm a bit curious as to see if this person can do any good for me. But he should be experienced, so we'll see. But it's just, it's a part of all this we need to take good care of ourselves concept. So it is my treat to myself, because I feel that I need it. Da, da, da. And I haven't bought Jan yet. I've been a good girl. um, no yarns yet bought. Oh no 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 no! I have yarn split, so I'm just gonna redo a bit, 2 stitches. I also bought myself a new sweater, hopefully incoming, or actually it's more like a vest. Which I feel I need too. But ideally, I will start making my own. I've actually seen the most gorgeous pattern for like a vest and also a shirt. They're actually both made as a jacket, short vest, blazer, but it's also made as a sweater if you'd rather want that. In like a silk mohair, which is so gorgeous. It's crochet, but it's all in puff stitches. Literally, it's a bunch of puff stitches. It's a sort of shell pattern in puff stitches, and it looks so gorgeous. And I'm like, sure, I wouldn't mind owning that, but then I'm like, oh my goodness, the thought of having to do so many puff stitches, because it's basically only puff stitches, the whole pattern. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't think that would be. I don't know. I don't think so. On that note, I do actually have a cowl that I was thinking on making, which I also have the yarn for up in my stash. And guess what? I recall that it also has a lot of puff stitches in that pattern. 4, 6, 7. Why do I find patterns that I like with a lot of puff stitches? Because I don't really like doing the stitches. That would be the big question, the multi-million-dollar question, my friends. Why do we tend to get inspired by patterns where there's a bunch of stitches that we are not a fan of making, but we do like the look of them? Or am I the only one having this issue? Four, six, seven. Now I just need to check how the end is, but I think it's pretty straightforward. It is. It is. You know, I'm trying to take like an updated photo for the thumbnail of the live, and I'm just looking at it on the table and I'm like, okay, this shawl needs stretching, like it needs blocking. And then when I like try to do it, it shrinks back in, but I can really see how gorgeous it will be once it's blocked. But yeah, I need to keep faith, because right now, obviously, it's not blocked. And now it just looks a bit like a mess compared to what it's going to look like when we're done. Okay, so I need to get into these top stitches. That was 1, 2, and then we need the treble. And then, my friends, we finished the row we started on Monday but didn't finish. We have 4 rows left before the next repeat of this pattern. But before then, don't forget to hydrate. And we are prepping for a lot of puff stitches. So we have started the next row. And then, my friends, it's puff time. And then when I say puff, I think poof. And then when I say poof, there's this song about a dragon that's named Puff in Danish. Okay, skip a stitch, and then we do a V-stitch, basically. But yeah, so that is a quite cute song, but I don't know if it exists in English. I'll have to Google that. Now I'm curious. Give me a moment. Just give me a moment, because I want to know if you actually know puff. I would patterns with puff stitches or replace the puff stitches accordingly. Yeah, I could option to do that, but then I don't get the real end result, I guess. It is. There is a Puff the Magic Dragon. So it is, yeah. I don't know if it's originally US or if it's like more from Europe and then been translated to English, but Puff the Magical Dragon is the song I think about every time I have to do puff stitches. I might be slightly crazy. I don't know. Into the next skip and skip a stitch, and then we skip a stitch and we'll do another. So this is gonna be, for crying out loud, the worst row of them all. I don't know why I thought this shawl was a good idea to make. But it's basically like, this row is like puff stitch, V-stitch, puff stitch, V-stitch, with a few skip stitches between, but still. There's a long way around. So if I start crying somewhere during this row, please, please have my, please try to understand me. Or could option to replace them, of course, but yeah, then I guess that just doesn't give the complete pattern idea. Though I feel that you could, to some extent, maybe reach the same level if you do like three double crochets together. That, to some extent, could be a bit better to work with than a puff, I guess. That said, the 3 puff stitches I've just made on this short piece has been treating me kindly, so maybe I'll actually just survive this row. Maybe. 4th treated me kindly. I need to knock wood and don't rely on my luck, because eventually we all know that the dreaded puff will happen. And it's not Puff the Magical Dragon. I'm knitting Cascade Yarn's Lazy Hose Scarf with a hang of Day hand-dyed yarn. Yes, I saw that she was starting to do her own hand-dyed yarns. A part of me really wanted to start doing hand-dyed yarns, but then on the other hand, I don't, because I don't have the room for it. Like, if I physically had the space for it, I would definitely consider it, but I physically don't have the space for it. Like, I just, yeah. And trying to get the space for it here in the Netherlands would be very expensive, at least where I live. The housing prices are insane. Um, when I see what a new house costs, I can't fathom people moving away from their parents wanting to buy a house rather than to live for rent. You know, they need to be more or less married or have a two-persons income to be able to buy what now is called a starter's home or beginner home. So basically, the first home you own which isn't rented. Um, it's crazy. It really is. Or you have to have a really, really good salary. Like on the salary I have right now, I could buy maybe half this house at best for the mortgage. That's kind of sad, right? TM. We are not gonna move unless I win the lottery. Actually, the thought of moving kind of is daunting on me as well. But it would be pretty cool, like to have a spare, I'd like an extra spare room. Right now we do have a spare room, but it's also kind of like my guest room and a bunch of other things. Um, but to have an extra spare room and then just have that as a full yarn room, craft room. Like on that account, I'm pretty jealous of Lisa. She has room enough. I could, of course, use my guest room for it, but there's a few things that I would need to get sorted there. Um, and I'm still not sure if I could display all my yarn. I need a bigger room. It's a similar financial situation in the US of A. Okay, so it's also very difficult for people to buy their first home unless they have a two-person income. At least here it's crazy. In the region where I live in, I don't think you can get much house for less than 400,000 euros. So that's like current exchange rate, probably 440, $450,000. That would be your starter's house. And I don't know if that's expensive. It also depends, obviously, what region you're in. Because if we would be willing to move 2 hours north in the middle of Friesland, that is literally in the middle of nowhere in the Netherlands. There is longer distance to hospitals and cities and less population, much more free space. Um, a lot of height to the ceiling, what one would say when you get outside, because it's just free. Um, which is kind of similar to where my parents live to some extent. It's a small countryside in Denmark. And I think my parents' house is probably worth like a quarter of the house I live in today, which is size-wise probably similar. Maybe ours is a little bit bigger, but not much. And maybe that's why I have a difficult time relating to that things can be so expensive. So every time a new house on our streets is put for sale, not that it happens often, but it happens. at least on a yearly basis. We tend to be a bit curious as to, okay, what are they charging for the house? What are they expecting it to sell for? And every time I see the prices, I'm like, oh my goodness, the price has got more expensive again. How would one be able to buy a house? But yeah. Anyhow, I'm actually doing so far pretty good with these puff stitches. Surprisingly well. So there is something positive. If my house is attached or if it's individual, it's attached. The one I live in. My parents is an individual. They have their own yard and everything. This one is an attached. I have we have like 4 houses under one roof, so to say. And so we basically share roofing with our neighbors, and they share with their neighbors, etc. We are on the very end of this row of 4, so we have the end house, which makes it more valuable because there's more space around it, because you also have on the side and not just the front and the back, if that makes sense. So we have a little bit more ground, and also the end houses have a little bit extra. I wouldn't call it a patio because it's not a patio, but it's basically like an extra space they added to the entrance. So you have a little bit more entrance space. Plus, there's a little bit more room for a guest toilet. No garage. Nope. No, 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 no. And the Dutch build in height because we don't have much land space basically compared to the amount of people living here. The people across the street do have a garage. But they have 2 houses under the same roof, and their houses is probably also like 200,000 euros more expensive than ours. But it's not that their houses are that much bigger either. So I'm not really sure if, let's say they are a little bit bigger, but not much. But just still compared to housing and versus the garage, not really sure the garage is worth $150,000. um, I think that can at least be argued. I am, yeah, we're good. Because the issue is like, you know, amazing. The house is worth more than when it was bought, but the houses, if you would want to sell and move, is also increasingly more expensive. So the ability to move and then move into something without everything getting more expensive is quite minimum currently, unless obviously that, let's say you win the lottery and therefore have a large down payment, so you don't need to take a larger mortgage that you already have. That was the first puff stitch that was sort of annoying me, but it worked out reasonably well. And we are almost halfway through, a bit more halfway through the first half. So we are more than a quarter, 1/3, maybe. So to be honest, compared to how many puff stitches this row has, it's doing reasonably well. Mm. And as I say, don't forget to hydrate. I may need it more often than others because I do all the chatting. Um, and the real question is, will we have another color change today? We hoped for it, so this puff stitch didn't go well. We hoped for it last time, but that didn't happen. So I would say we stand a reasonable chance to get some sort of a color change. The color change we would have would go from the 2 strands of darker purple and so I have currently 2 strands dark, 1 strand light, and the strand of fluorex. And with a color change, we would go from 2 strands dark to 2 strands of light. So it should go lighter purple, technically. And given the fact that we didn't have a color change Monday, I would say we should get one today. And I feel I'm so far away. I'm going to move you guys a bit closer. Whoa. Ta-ta. So now I'm a little bit closer. That was better. So Susan is working on a scarf, but what is everybody else working on today? Or are you just having me lovely in the background while you're getting your breakfast? Or lunch for that matter? Afternoon coffee? Megan says I'm working from home and I have you on in the background. Oh, so I am like a working colleague, except we're not direct colleagues. I also work from home, hence why my ability to actually go live here after work, because I have been working earlier today. At some stage, I thought I'm gonna be a bit late for the stream, and then suddenly everything went smooth, and I was like, "Oh, day's quota done." Huh, nice. Um, hmm, actually, I'm curious because I didn't calculate. I should end with a puff, shouldn't I? I should. Jolly, jolly, jolly. I am happy. So, you guys may remember that we didn't get our stitch count to completely match a couple of rows ago. And I can tell you with this pattern, stitch count is seemingly matching again. So, hally ho, hally ho, hally ho. The small pleasures in life. because this row until the center so far has been working up exactly according to the pattern. That is awesome. Like I'm genuinely happy because it worked up like how it's supposed to, if that makes sense. Now, of course, we will see for everything else onwards if that's still going to be the same. But for this one, I think we fixed it, the issue. So that is kind of cool. That makes me really happy. I still do not spot the color change yet, but it should happen, I think, today. Yep. Chipping on, chipping on, chipping on. It's a bit funny, just before I went live, there was a lot of music playing in the background, and I'm not really sure where it came from, if it was from outside or if it was our neighbors. My direct neighbors would be straight behind the wall, which is usually behind me, or behind the furniture I have here in the back. And to that extent, I can feel that in Denmark, I have grown up in a house, freestanding, individual, and not in an attached setup. But that said, literally here in the Netherlands, houses, as soon as they are no longer attached, they're like $250,000 more expensive, if not more, depending on location and stuff like that. And there is definitely a few nice places, but my goodness, I don't have the kind of money to even consider it. That said, I do think my partner is open for moving should the right place come and should we have the money and all that stuff. But it's, yeah, we're probably gonna retire here, be happy in our home. And just renovate. Because it's slowly getting to the time where, you need a new kitchen after so many years and so on. We will definitely at some stage also need a new kitchen and a need to get stuff renovated. Just wear and tear from the years of usage. But that, my friends, when we get there, is also gonna be one big of a mess. And when is it gonna happen would be the next question. I don't know, 8 to 10 years from now on. It's a very likely scenario. Good morning, Lisa. I was just sharing with everybody how jealous I am of your crafting room because you have lovely space for it. And I am in the row where I am now supposed to be hating the thought of this pattern because this is like puff stitches. But that said, this row has gone extremely reasonably well considering the fact that I am working on puff stitches. You know, it's puff stitches and V-stitches and puff stitches and V-stitches. But for the amount of puff stitches I have been making, it's gone really well. Ah, don't be sorry. It's gonna look nice in the end, so I just need to get through it. And honestly, right now, I think I like puff stitches above popcorns because so far these puff stitches are treating me really well. And the popcorns, you physically have to take out the needle and insert the needle and like to finish it up. That just takes so much more time. I think that's maybe the issue I have with it, right? That I physically have to spend more time doing certain stitches, which wouldn't seem unreasonable reason for being a less fan of them. Popcorns are slower for you too. Yeah, it's logic if you consider why, because of the actions you have to do. I think I would have cried if this was a row full of popcorns. That would have been definitely I've been allowed to cry. I did say somewhere between the start of this row, because I realized this was going to be a lot of puff stitches, that don't worry if I was crying before the end. But I haven't reached the crying state yet because I only had maybe two in the whole row that was really annoying me. And most of us actually gone, for my doing, pretty smoothly. Did you get your shawl blocked? The silk shawl. The shawl I was working on is on hold and I only have one row left till it's done. Okay, so it's not completely done, the silky one. I decided to make it completely over the top for my mother-in-law because she is like that. Okay. My first shawl that I made after getting back into crocheting was a birthday gift for my mom-in-law, actually. Um, Just a quite simple, classic double crochet triangle shawl. No fancy stuffs. I ordered some Swarovski crystals to add to the finishing row. Oh, that's nice. You have to share me that once it's complete. Like, I would like to see the finished result. Susan says, hi, Odd. So, hello, Lisa. Mm-mm-mm. And Lisa promised to send pics once she's done. And maybe, who knows, that day I can share with everyone if you want me to. We're going good. I don't mind sharing. Sometimes it's nice for people to put a photo on it or an image on what's talked about. Still no color change, so it's not going to happen this row, I think. Because we're almost to the end of this row. So for a puff row, it's gone, I would say, reasonably smooth. While I wait for the crystals to come, I'm back to knitting socks. Oh, I've seen some really gorgeous sock yarns. I haven't bought, but and I'm not sure if I would, because it's pretty pricey, but it's gorgeous. But it sounds like that shawl is going to be really pretty, and Susan seems to think the same. So we are looking forward to see the end result. I still need to learn to knit socks, so I'm not really sure if I would want to use like an expensive yarn on it in any case, until I kind of know what I'm doing. Revenant, hello. Susan asks if everyone else has been watching the Rhinebeck videos. I have to say, I'm afraid I am not sure as to what those are. I was there. Lisa hasn't watched any yet. Megan says, a great weather, great count. Rhinebeck is the New York Sheep and Wool Festival that was this past weekend. Ah, yeah, okay. I wouldn't be familiar with that. But it sounds like an amazing event, though. Rowan says Rhinebeck isn't his jam, but he's really happy for the people who likes it. And Rhinebeck is pretty much the biggest fiber festival in North America. Aha. And yes, of course, now we're all curious if Megan bought anything when she was there. Or if you, like the rest of us, is trying your best to shop your stash. I have to say, so far, October isn't too bad on the yarn consumption scale. So for my regular me, I would say it's going pretty okay for October so far, because I also haven't bought any. What I'll be most curious about is at the end of this year, if I have spent more yarn or consumed more yarn, used more yarn, gotten rid of more yarn than I've obtained. So far, I still have a bit of work to do to do that. DM. Megan says I bought way too much. I always try to get Miss Babs Rhinebeck colorway. I also love seeing all the animals. They had a 6-month-old kangaroo that was just too adorable. Okay. I guess I'll have to see if I can find something video related to it. Sounds pretty cool. No, that was the wrong stitch. I always find these end stitches slightly so challenging to grab. Does take a little bit extra focus from me. Anyhow, guess what? Row complete. Now I just need to check. What are we doing next? We are having some back posts and some double crochets. And by the looks, they're not back post 3 double, back post, skip the puff. Easy. In all theory, at least. Susan says, awesome, Megan. I will drive up 1 year and stay the weekend. I don't really need more yarn right now. I don't need more yarn either. I guess that's also really helpful for when I get tempted. I'm like, Stina, do you have room in your stash? No, I don't. Genuinely, no, I don't. I still need to get rid of some things in my stash. That said, I am gonna get rid of some of the things for Christmas because some of them are going out as Christmas presents. Hallelujah. What I could do, I could make a video when we get closer to Christmas. Like before I wrap them all up, to kind of say, hey, these are my Christmas presents. I could do that. But it's not like I have a lot of Christmas presents right now. And I just got a message here with a warning on winds, which is logic because we do have a storm incoming. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that is back post. And we need to skip puff, which is easy. Then we do 3 double crochets in here. Okay. From here on, this should be quick again. I am starting to get curious when we get these wind posts and storm messages, warnings. I am slightly ever so curious as to where it's gonna hit. So I need to quickly just check how bad they're expecting it to get here. I'm not flying this time around, so I guess there is something. But yeah, there is definitely something coming. Oh my goodness. At the Faroe Islands, there's a big storm right now, so that's probably what's gonna get. No, it's not. It's coming from south. French is gonna get hit pretty badly as well. So we have like a low passage as well. Let's see if I can zoom this out. I don't know if you guys are interested in that at all. I don't think so. But there is like this hill wind system coming, and they are gonna go up here, and we are like up here, so it's gonna like hit us from south bit. So that's different direction than I would normally expect. But yeah, so we have a storm coming. Megan warmly suggests to meet more authors of books and have them sign for you to go up to the Rhinebeck. And Susan says, do you go to the Vogue in New York City? Where Megan replies here that she would, but it's more knitting focused. Revenant says, I've bought way more yarn than I have used this year, but to be fair, I am less than a year into this hobby. I thought you had been more busy already, to be honest. You seem far more experienced, so way go you. That wasn't my impression that you only started within this year. But the buying way more yarn than you have used, I can relate. I definitely also did that my first couple of years. I had a period where I basically almost weekly on this channel had a yarn haul. I know, right? I still have a lot of the yarn. I also gave away some of the yarn. But I have most of it still. And my challenge is really still, I sometimes see some insane good deals on Facebook where I'm like, I want this. Like, send it to me. And at the same time, I'm like, no, because you do not have room. You can do that. You can buy that when you have room, if it's still there, which is usually not because it's a really good deal. Sometimes there are good deals, but when you then pay for the shipping, the deal is kind of not that good anymore. But yes, it is nice to have a collection in your stash to shop from when you shop your stash. I have plenty of things to get from my stash, so I'm not concerned of running out of projects. Lisa says, Stina, the first socks I knit was with cheap acrylic non-sock yarn. I have sock yarn in my stash, actually. I believe it's some of Hobby's sock yarn. I just don't think that, I'm not sure if they recall this as my stash. We'll see. Log in and check if they actually transferred that part over. They should have. It's slow. Yeah, they do. I'll share my screen. Give me one moment. Ta-ta! This is my stash, and well, it's not completely because some of it isn't really my because I've used all this. For example, this is gone. This is gone, but this I still have. But it's only the photo. I can't really. You can edit it, but you can't like view it. Wonder if I edit it, it's just name. Oh, that's a bigger picture. There you go. This I have in my stash. And I got it on sale. I think it was 50% off when I got it. And there is like you can get 4 pairs of socks because they're like 100-gram skeins, so 3.5-ounce skeins, and then it's like 400-meter length. So it's like what 440 somewhat yards round. So that yarn I have. The ones I'm making right now is with Universal yarns that I picked up super cheap on Black Friday last year. You have the wind. We woke up to our entire yard covered in thick frost. Well, no frost here yet. It's still warm, luckily, but it's gonna get windy. It's not really windy yet, but tomorrow it's gonna be windy. Revenant says start learning to crochet round around New Year's. Welcome then. I think you're doing well for the first year. This is the first year that I've used more than I've bought, but I've enough stash, so now I'm being very picky with the yarns I buy. You have the rooms for it. Revenant says spend a week or two just making swatches of the basic single and half double double treble crochet stitches before I spent several weeks making a scarf. Here is baby's first project. Let's go and have a look at that. I'm flipping over. And we have a scarf which is in purple colors. Gorgeous purple colors. I like purple. A friend of mine would used to use purple, refused to use purple due to a specific football club having them as their club colors. And that would be their arch enemy, so to say. Which is a bit funny how people react to specific colors. I like purples. So this was the first project. It's all half double back crochet, half double back loop only crochet. Jesus. And it's, I would say it's reasonably stretched in the edges. For someone that's done that as their first, I think you can be pretty proud of it, to be honest. I think it's not bad at all. Definitely not bad at all. Lisa says she passed on a ton of yarn to her daughter. Yeah, you mentioned that. Mom has a ton of yarn too, if we get to that point someday. And I'm sure if there was a specific yarn in her stash, I would be allowed to use it also, if I wanted to. And I could argument for being what I'd be making from it. But I actually feel I have more yarn than my mom does right now, to be completely honest. Susan says, Reverend, is Baltimore your team? I guess Baltimore also runs in purples, without knowing it. Most of my stash is available to my daughter as well. Yeah, that's the thing, right? And my cousin actually had a good point a while ago. She was like, you know, I think your mom appreciates that you started this crafty adventure because it's something you can do together, and I think that's to some extent true at some stage, especially if you're blessed enough to have a parent who's crafty. You're also more likely self eventually to start crafting, and to do it together is just to share something that's common in a way, which is kind of like cozy in a way. Um, I can't really find the best translation for this word, which is the Danish hyggeligt. Um, they do have a similar word for it in Dutch, but I'm not really sure the English. But cozy, it's a good feeling. It's a feeling of something that's nice. It's homey. It's relatable. It's relaxing. It's a good time. It's just this nice atmosphere it becomes to turn into when you do stuff together. Oh, yarn split. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Hello, Rudy. Hola, hola. I hope you're doing well this morning, afternoon. Revenant says, thank you all for your kind words. I had to go feed my dog. I hope that your dog is now happy and wagging its tail after getting some food. I'm still just chipping along. Again, this row is actually reasonably simple once started. So far, it's going smooth. Bunch of double crochets mostly, and some back posts. Ronan says, yes, I'm from Baltimore originally, so I suffer with their teams. World is small, I guess. Susan lives in the middle of the Jets, Giants, and Eagles territories. In other words, there's a lot of local preferences as to what team one prefer. Which is often also related then to what does the home prefer. Parents and the like. Lisa says, I've got my daughter addicted to spinning since our class on Monday. She already has spun a hank of her drop spindle and is starting her second today. Oh my goodness, that's impressive. By the sound of it, your spinning class went great Monday evening. I'll be honest and say sometimes it's a bit sad to live so far away from my parents. Definitely. Sometimes I'm happy. Um, because at least you don't get a sudden unexpected visit. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy, like sad that the distance is so far. It is funny, as sports crazy as Americans are, it's nothing on the soccer It's nothing on the soccer football fans. Okay. Yeah. I guess I can most relate to those, and often it's also a little bit to as what your parents prefer, but also some people just prefer to cheer on the teams they know will win. Um, when it comes to soccer, I'm like a national team person only. I give a crap about local clubs and stuff. But of course, I'll cheer for Denmark if we are in some big final somewhere. Like, I'll do that. But I don't care much for club level sports in that sense, which is not completely true because shooting is slightly different. Um, I've done and I still do team sports and a club level event there. Lisa says I'm Canadian. We only watch hockey, and I would assume that's ice hockey and not like hockey. Because if you say hockey here in the Netherlands, we are talking about the ones without skates. It's more like a floorball-ish concept. Hockey on grass. Because that is actually something that the Netherlands is insanely good at playing, apparently. They have multiple Olympic medals. Ice hockey, on the other hand, I haven't really heard that they are that good in it, so I don't think that that would be the case. Ice hockey is the only version here, as I thought. Revenant says my wife is only really into ice hockey. She's a big Dallas Stars fan. Yeah, that's a US thing, right? The NHL stuff. Like I know in Denmark it's like a really big thing if you somehow can manage to get drafted to the NHL because you aren't like originally from North America or a big hockey nation. Um, so that would definitely end on the Danish news if you happen to get drafted. Lisa says Winnipeg Jets is our team. Susan says, I think we Americans call it field hockey. That's likely. That's definitely possible. It is a field kind of hockey. I'm not really sure what it would be called. It could be called field hockey. I don't know. Now I'm curious. I actually even think that the Netherlands is the current reigning champions. Olympic champions, that would be. Yeah, field hockey. Field hockey. Indeed. Do, do, do. That's just for fun. This is a good old Wikipedia. Summer Olympics. Who won what? The Netherlands qualified via the European Championships back then. That was both for the men and for the women. Medal table. Look here. Men's, the Netherlands won, and the women's, the Netherlands won. And that's why I happen to know that we do play it. So field hockey is a thing here, clearly. Ronan says support the Seattle Kraken because they have the best team colors. The Jets also have the best fans in the NHL. I'll have to check out this logo. Give me a moment. It's not bad. It's not bad. That's some lovely blues. I could work with that. I could definitely work with that. It is. It's actually getting into the season of Winter Olympics, if I'm not wrong. So that is coming up in February. And I once had a job, very shortly, where I was actually doing Danish customs support for Discovery Plus during the Olympics in Tokyo. So basically, we got paid to watch Olympics and handle customer support requests, because if they wrote us in and said, we cannot see blah, blah, blah event, or we're having no sound or whatever, we needed to be able to go and watch it to actually see and experience whatever the issue the customer had, to see if it was a technical issue or like an issue from our end or an issue at the customer's end and so on. So that was actually quite funny. I definitely did not mind that job. It was pretty chill while we had it. The only thing I disliked was the working scheduling, that we only knew our schedule like 2 weeks in advance. That was really not very easy to plan your life according to. But I literally got paid to watch sports, so in that sense, sure, that was a good job. And also because it happens during summer vacation. A lot of people were then on their summer vacation abroad and not at home, and then they couldn't pay to watch it because they were trying to sign up and pay for their subscription while they were in a foreign country, but using their Danish credit cards. And the system would want only a credit card from the same country where the IP address were from. So we were actually allowed to grant temp, like if they were on vacation for another week, we would be allowed to gift them the ability to watch on their account for until they got home, because obviously they couldn't actually complete the payments. I think they moved most of that to HBO this past summer. And I'm not gonna sure what they're gonna do this winter. I know for sure that we'll have speed skating on the Dutch TV because we are a speed skating nation. Okay, so we need 4 doubles and chain 2 and 4 doubles on the center. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, and split. 4, that was better. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 4. I don't think we will complete the whole repeat of the second repeat today. But we will get as far as we can. Maybe I'll end up positively surprised. Good. So we are on. We're on the move. Still curious. Still haven't had the color change yet. It's waiting on its. It's just making us wait and wait and wait. And yeah, it is gorgeous. That would be the front side. So I'm working with the back facing me, or where the least amount of relief will be. That was a sort of Dutch, German, English combined language. The challenge when you speak multiple languages. This is also why I'm actually quite happy that the job I have found is also working on a daily basis with the Danish language, even though I don't directly speak it, I do use it. Because I realized for a few years when I was using it a bit less that I sometimes had to think longer to be able to form a sentence because I just wasn't using it on a daily basis like I used to. And that's the challenge when you learn different languages or you speak multiple languages, is the best way to keep them and be good at them is actually to use them regularly, and also not to be afraid of making mistakes. In the very beginning, when I was learning Dutch, I wasn't too keen on speaking until I kind of got over this hurdle, being like, you need to not be afraid of making mistakes. You just need to talk, and you need to say, please correct me when it's too wrong, so that I could learn. And that's really when it started picking up for me. And that was also kind of when we changed here in the house. So when I met my partner, we were only speaking English together because obviously I couldn't speak Dutch. And my German definitely was not good enough to do a relationship conversation in German. His English improved, and I started learning Dutch, and then we slowly transitioned into talking Dutch. He should, though, learn Danish, and he does know some Danish, but the problem is when he does learn Danish, it's mainly when we are in Denmark, um, which is not often enough. We are going home this year for Christmas. We just need to get it planned more exactly as to when we are traveling. But yeah. So of course I'm looking forward for Christmas. Being with family, good food, cozy time, and I will bring a craft, but I should not craft on Christmas Eve itself, because I my partner clearly stated to me 2 years ago that the Danish Christmas wasn't as cozy and nice as he remembered them, because all of us grown up women, we were like sitting with our crafts, just busy crafting, not really busy with stuff around us. Which I guess is a fair comment. So I won't be bringing crafts. Of course, maybe if people come in the afternoon, or we drive in the afternoon, or whatever, um, it would be fair enough to maybe sit there for an hour to craft, but not during the event itself. I'm also not sure where we're gonna be Christmas. Um, if it's gonna be with my aunt, or my cousin, or my mom. But I can imagine there's a slight preference to maybe um, being at my parents' place. From my mom's perspective, because she's not the fittest still, which is absolutely fair and understandable. It might also be a smaller Christmas than what we usually used to. Regardless, whichever they want and need, I'll be there for whatever support. So we should be fine. I'm just looking forward for a good meal. And maybe again this year, I need to maybe find my slow cooker and do some ribbies in it at some stage as well this year. I really love the tenderness you can get from the meat in your slow cooker. I see that there it is. My chat hadn't scrolled down. Lisa is asking, what is everybody making for supper today? I'm making borscht. No idea what that is. So Stina has to Google. It's a soup, according to this. So it's like Eastern European soup, according to AI. National soup of Ukraine, made with red beets. It's a sour soup made with meat, stock, vegetable, and seasonings, common in Eastern Europe and Northern Asia. Okay, so let's pop over. Ta-ta! It's common in Eastern Europe, Northern Asia. In English, the word borscht is most often associated with soups variant of Ukrainian origin, made with red beetroots as one of the main ingredients, which gives the dish its distinctive red color. It looks nice though, except I'm not a big fan of red beetroots. I'll be open for tasting it, but I'm not sure if I would make it myself, realizing I wouldn't like it because that's a lot of effort. But I would definitely be open for tasting it if somebody served it for me. There's actually a lot of kind of different kinds of borscht, but that is the kind I'm making today. Okay. Yeah, it did sound like there was a few options. For me, I have decided that I am making an omelette. And I will add some leftover veggies into it. So I have some spring onions that I'm gonna throw into it. I'm probably gonna do a single clove of garlic. And then just, it's like a farmer's omelette-ish thing. That is what I'm gonna do for dinner. I will probably check if I have spring rolls or something like that to go along, but I think I might be out. And then that's fine. Ooh. Reverend says I'm making a non-traditional clay pot inspired teriyaki chicken and rice dish. It won't be in clay pot, but in a one-pot dish with rice, chicken, carrots, and edamame beans. I like edamame beans. They're really nice for a lot of things, like in a salad. I get all hungry. I want beans now. I did have a cabbage stew the last 2 days with a fresh baked or fried sausage. Yesterday we had soup, tomato soup. I did yesterday with a focaccia bread, which was pretty good actually. For the fact that it's really difficult to find a good creamy tomato soup here, or find a recipe of a good creamy tomato soup, because my partner is so icky on that. And we used really to enjoy Unox. They had like a canned creamy tomato soup that was amazing. And they stopped producing it, literally. Like it's not being made anymore. So I'm not too happy about that. But that's what it is. And we haven't really found a good replacement, to be honest, either. So it was okay what we had yesterday, but it wasn't as good as what it used to be. This creamy tomato soup from Unox, pre-made. So you just had to like open the pot and put it in your pan, and then you had to add 2 pots of water. And you had a really creamy, lovely soup. I have a huge pot that I use for soup. So when I make soup, I seal the leftovers in jars. That makes good sense, yeah. I should get better at jarring some or putting it in freezer and so on. Actually, instead of jarring soup, what you can do, I haven't tried yet, but I've read this. You should, so in Europe, we have these, the cartons where you get milk in, like a liter of milk or a gallon of milk or whatever. I just wonder if I can actually find one. So give me a moment. Now I'm curious. I'll pop over to the screen. We are just at one of the very many Dutch supermarkets. Yeah. Cookies. Just give me some milk, please. Or yogurt for that matter. But milk is easier because it easier empties. And it's bigger. It's slow. Ta-ta. These. Right? Or these for this matter. It's like regular milk 1.5 fat degrees. Anyhow, but these, clean up these and fill them with the soup and freeze them, because they stack in the freezer, and afterwards you can just throw them out. But I never consider this, because what I do is I'm like, okay, milk is done, and I throw it out the carton. But apparently that should be really good to contain soup. Like if you have like a soup, you can put them in those. So I may have to consider that at some stage, to actually keep over one of those just to try. Because, for instance, I make a ground up curry soup or curry soup, um, where I do in um, a lot of fresh roots like potatoes, sweet potatoes, parsnips, carrots, and so on. And that gets mixed with the blender, so it gets creamy. I should try to freeze those down because that's really a nice soup, but it takes a bit of time to do. Edamame are really high in fiber and nutrients. I try to add them when I can. Yeah, they're really nice and tasty. Lisa says just the leftovers are usually 10 to 12 liters. Well, my leftovers are a lot less. Yeah. And Lisa doesn't have that much room in her freezer, but a long-term pantry storage in her basement. I don't have the basement for the long-term pantry storage, but I do have room in my freezer. So I guess we're the opposite direction there. But I could definitely see myself, if that's good, tasting good, to actually consider maybe, freezing it down um, on a milk jar bottle thingy. That was probably not a too bad idea. It's worth a thought. It would just be like, a two-person plate thingy and not anything big and fancy. But also usually then when I do make soup and I have some meat in it, when my partner knows that we aren't gonna eat it the following day, he's gonna sieve off all the meats, being like, we can eat them. The rest is just gonna get thrown out. Like, yeah, that wouldn't work if we were gonna put it away for freezing. He says cooking for a third division. Yeah, maybe. You should just cook large amounts and preserve it so I don't have to make specific dishes very often, like once or twice a year. Makes sense, if that's possible. Well, I have to say some things when I make them because we are only two people in the house here. It's a two-person household. For example, if I make lasagna, it's 2 days. If I make a lot of things, when I make it, it's just for 2 days because cooking for 4 people is cheaper than cooking for two, fundamentally seen, because you get bigger discounts buying more, buying in bulk. Um, but I don't want to eat the same for like 3 days in a row. That's kind of like, okay, I've had it. But doing it 2 days in a row is not a big issue. Um, yeah. So a lot of the things sometimes we do cook for 2 days because it's just cheaper that way. Right now in my pantry, I have about 150 liters of different soups, stews, and chili. Well, then you are pretty safe for should there come some sort of like war. Not that that's going to happen in Canada, I think. That's only if Trump decides Canada's going to be American, but I don't think that the rest of the world would approve of such action. Um, but you definitely have food for a long time. On the other hand, it's nice just to be able to grab some food and not have to spend a long time to prep it. But that sometimes do require longer preps on different times of the day, or like at a different time, right? Like in this case, you do spend a lot of time prepping the soup, but once it's prepped, it's good. You do need to be really good at marking so that um, it won't go too old and you know what's in it. Because I remember once I put some meat in my freezer and I was like, I'm sure I know what this is. And then, once I finally got it out, it was definitely not what I thought it was. Ravena says, when I make pasta, we have it for like 3 meals. Yeah. Elisa says it's her version of meal prepping. Yep. My meal prepping is just basically that we eat the same for 2 days, depending on what it is. Well, right now I don't have anything planned. Plus Thursday we eat by my mom-in-law, so that means I only need to cook for tomorrow unless I have something I can do for 2 days, which I don't because I have other things in my fridge. And I do happen to have a couple of eggs. I do actually have 6 eggs, so we're gonna make an omelette from 6 eggs and some spring onions and so on to put in. Oh my goodness. Why can't I? This is just a regular back post double crochet. Come on. There we are. Really shouldn't be that difficult. And if I'm right, I just need to double check because we are kinda getting closer here. Yeah, and then we are at the very end. So we have the 4 in total plus a treble. Row complete! Yay! Oh my goodness. This is like skip, 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 skip. Front post, back post chains, but different. Front post round the 2 back posts on the center ones. Okay. It comes in handy when we get winter snowstorms and our power goes out. Generally happens a few times a year. Yeah, okay, I'm not used to that. But that makes sense, you need to meal prep. Ronan says I've pulled pork in the freezer because there's only 2 of us and it's so much cheaper to buy a whole pork butte than a slice of it. Last time there was 15 cents difference in the total. Okay. That's crazy. So it was like 15 cents cheaper to buy the slice compared to buying the whole pork. Lately, I've been able to get some pulled porks from the grocery store. You just need to finish up the heating at home, and it's good for like 2 months in the fridge. Lisa says we buy a lot of food in bulk. It's cheaper for us in the long run. Yeah, I think that goes for a bunch of us, right? Like, so if I buy minced meat or if I buy chicken or whatnot, I try to buy as if I was a person of 4 or 6 or whatever, because it's cheaper than if I just had to buy a smaller portion for a 1 or 2 person family. That's just how it is. Okay, now I need to follow the pattern for a minute. So we do first a back post, chain, skip, another back post, chain, and then we do front posts around these 2. chain. And every time here in the center we can do back post, front post, back post. Now it's okay. Sure. I have an idea of where we're heading. Meat we buy directly from the farmers. Yeah, I actually have a friend of ours who does he does veal. Um, I should get it directly from him, but sometimes it's cheaper at the store. You just don't know where it's coming from, obviously. Ravenna says buy a quarter pound of pork butte for $8.49 and a whole pork butte for $8.64, and it's 3 times as much. Whoa, that's crazy. That's such a difference. Lisa says we just bought an entire cow and it got cut up at a local butcher. That's why I don't have freezer space. That makes absolutely most sense. Oh my goodness. Revenant says I mostly eat chicken breast as far as meat goes, and we get bulk and freeze it. I prefer chicken too. Vacuum sealer makes long-term storage good option. Also valid. Hello, Maritza. Welcome to this live. We are talking food and crochet. Lisa buys her chickens from hatchery similar to the Amish and buy them by the case of 9. Oh, and thank you, Revenant. Revenant gifted a membership and Lisa received it. Woohoo! Awesome. Sometimes, especially lately, when people have been gifting memberships, it's not been a guaranteed that it's been one that's been live because I do have usually more members, a lot more members. I do have more subscribers than people are on my live. But regardless, it is a membership. So we have a little video for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Welcome, Lisa, to our memberships. I hope you will enjoy the coffee in the corner and the warm seat in the couch that we have made readily available for you. And to Revenant, thank you so much for your generosity. It is warmly appreciated. Do. So this is just a little step by step. I am strongly believing that we will finish this row. And then how much more we will get, I don't know. Last row is just a bunch of double crochets, which technically is easy. So maybe. But then I shouldn't do too much chit-chatting and inspiration searching on other places than just crocheting. So we will chip carry happily along. Still waiting for that color change to happen. I personally feel that we are warranted a color change during this stream because obviously we haven't had one. We didn't have one Monday. So I think we need to get one. I'm like looking and looking and looking, but it's not looking like any minute. We'll see. If I buy ground beef, what Stine calls mince, here it's $8.75 a pound. If I buy whole beef, I get all the cuts and I pay 11 a pound. Okay. Yeah, right now, like what we have as minced meat. So like if you make bolognese or lasagna, we're up paying like 11.5 euros a kilo. But I have no, like that would doesn't sound like it's as expensive as in Canada, which I'm actually kind of surprised about. But I don't know if that's related to value add taxes or whatnot. And I just want to convert of what's so difficult about that. Let's see. In US, we are currently paying about $13.30 for a kilo of minced meat. That's about £2. Which not that bad then, compared to what I hear what you guys are paying. I'm scared to death, and I need to stay here. Which translates to 18.65 Canadian for £2. But that's minced. If we are talking about cuts like a steak, we are on the other side of 20 euros, let's say 22 euros, just because it's so that's like towards 35, 36 Canadian dollars a kilo for steak, or about 25 USD for steak. Chicken is not far off either, actually. Chicken is slightly bit cheaper compared to veal or beef. Sounds like mine is much cheaper. I'm just surprised mine is so much cheaper. Because in my optics, it's gotten really expensive over the past year. Like, I'm shocked. Bottom line is, it's probably cheaper if you had the room to grow it yourself. But that then takes time as an investment. Canadian dollars is in the pits right now, and our inflation is insane. Okay. Well, yeah, it's kind of insane here too. But and my investment's taking a dive, but that's mainly because of Trump. So yeah, he's not good for my business in so many aspects. He needs to bug off. Yeah. Remnant says American price is 1 pound of 96% clean ground beef is $8.16. That's cheap. That is cheap. As soon as the meat get processed, it's just getting expensive. What? A dozen of eggs, and a dozen is like 12 or 20? I would say 20 though. But it could also be 12. Now I'm in doubt. Cost $7 from the grocery store, but I don't buy them there. Again, I go to the farm and get them for $3.50. A dozen is 12. Thank you. I was just trying to think, like, is it 12 or 20? But my first instinct was right when I said 12. That's crazy. I can get a dozen in the store. Well, it's not a dozen. Actually, it's 10. The ones I have on my counter right now, waiting for making to become omelette tonight, is 10 in a tray, and I paid €2.60 in the store. So thank God our eggs is a decent price. That is where it gets more expensive buying them private, almost. And they are from chickens that has a set amount of guaranteed freedom to walk and all that stuff. So it's not caged chickens. But I also know that a lot of European countries were asked by Trump to help with American egg production or something like that. So I guess there is some sort of need, at least for eggs in the store. Revenant says can get a dozen of large brown cage-free eggs for $3.94. Looking in the grocery app right now. Yeah. I think I can get the dozen ones for probably like €3. So that's like slightly cheaper. Again, it depends on the store I get them from also, because some stores are more expensive for the eggs than others. But that's just because the store generally is more expensive. So we have some stores where if you like when they fill up the shelves, they leave them in the package they get from their warehouse. So it's like straight from the package rather than put nicely on the shelf, and then the food is still as good. It's just looking slightly less presentable due to still being semi-packed. And those supermarkets are usually a little bit cheaper than the other ones. And I'm fine with that. It's a concept of Aldi, so to say. I do believe that the US people do have some Aldi stores. So similar as to what Aldi does, because Aldi has a same concept of not fully unpacking their groceries. And therefore it can sometimes seem a bit messy in the store, but it's just how they do it, if that makes sense. One Canadian dollar is worth 71 USD cents or 62 euro cents. Man, I can get the suffering full eggs for $3.46 for 18. Yeah, so the suffering full was what I would call cage hens, right? Like they're caged up and kept on local small spaces. Honestly, If I wasn't traveling so much and we had more garden space, I'd love like a batch of, let's say, 5 hens and a rooster. Like, I'd be absolutely fine with that. I'd even find it sort of cozy to have a few chickens. But reality is I don't have that sort of room. So, and I'm not sure if my neighbors would appreciate me having chickens. Maybe they would be okay with it, but I don't feel self that I have the space for them to have enough space to actually have a good life. Um, so that would be on this future me, that I have the money to live at a place with room around me and a few chickens, because then I would definitely, most definitely get a few chickens. Hmm. Yep. Pay more and let the poor creatures walk on. That's another reason I get them for the farmers too. Animals are treated better and the better quality food. I believe actually that you can even taste it, like the less stress. Oh, okay, so what are they doing here on the tip? One moment. We are doing every second. And we are heading down the other half. Two. Lisa says, I could have chickens, but I'm allergic to their dander. Oh, that sucks. The chickens would occasionally get into a yard and she would have to come gather it up. Yeah. Neighbors have chickens before the wife left. Now I don't know what drama happened there, and I don't really care. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah. Lots of reasons for why people leave each other, right? And mostly it's not our business. So we shouldn't care. But if I were to have chickens, there's a bunch of things I would have to prioritize differently. And I just don't see that happen. So I'll just pay for the eggs. But I would be absolutely open to having them. Like, if my life situation was different, if the room allowed and so on. Um, but of course, that's also partially due to the fact that Granddad used to have a small farm and he had all sorts of animals, so I'm kind of grown up with it. And from what I know, that's not been the case with my current partner. So he's less attached to the need of animals, where I'm super happy to kind of have them or have the opportunity. Um, and for me, it's more of a normal thing. But then we can revert to the fact, as I say, I just don't have the space to do it decently, so I don't want to. I helped her move a piece of furniture and she was complaining about him the entire time. It's the only reason I know she left. Oh my goodness. Yeah, okay. Can be various reasons for complaints as well. I don't think, yeah, no, I have nothing to really complain about. And if I did, I'm sure my partner would probably have all things he could complain to me about, like, honey, you have too much yarn. um, which to some extent is probably valid. So, I understand. Ronan says, I just wanted to get the job done quickly so I could get out of there. Not a big fan of drama. Yeah, I think nobody's a fan of drama, honestly. I no 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 no. I wouldn't want either. Hey, never mind helping me out for a second. I'm also going to trauma dump on you the entire time. On the other hand, maybe you were actually a relief. Um, right? For me, I guess it's been sort of similar in connection with my mom, even though that my mom is also watching these lives. Um, it's been really nice to have another place to talk about um, the current challenges um, that my family has been undergoing, and just share updates in that sort. Right now, the update is just we are recovering and pending the next scan, which is going to be on December 3rd. And until then, hopefully, she's just gaining some strength and eating well and resting well and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to see if she has improved when I see her in 2.5 weeks' time. Lisa says, I really have nothing to complain about with my hobby. That man tolerates all of my insanity. Um, Mine tolerates a lot too. He's not complained about my yarn, but I'm quite sure he would say I have too much of it if I asked him. Like, genuinely asked him, he would be like, yeah, maybe you have a bit much, which is kind of true. And yesterday, when I was sorting and making everything ready for the business, and I found the other yarn I had, I was like, I probably have enough yarn to last myself the rest of my life with the pace I'm currently working at. Um, or maybe not, but for quite a long time to come. Um, how should I deal with it? Make more, make more, make more. For context, I had talked to this woman maybe 6 times, no more than 5 to 10 minutes, the entire 6 year that I've lived here previously. Yeah, okay, that's a bit odd then, indeed. But maybe it, you know, sometimes you hear these people suddenly talking, realizing that they are maybe in a really, really bad relationship, but they can't talk about it to family um, because of fear. And maybe you would just happen to be the outlet. I don't know. Even these days, which I'm, by the way, quite upset about because Prime has changed. Now Prime wants more money to be ad free. What the fuck is that for bullshit? I'm already paying for Prime, but yeah, it's what it is. But there's a lot of ads on Prime related to domestic abuse, actually. Um, and that sometimes you really need to pay attention to people's signals because um, they aren't always able to get out of them on their own and they need help. But if they scream help too high, they get risked. Lisa says, I don't really talk to one of my neighbors. They are truly weird. Their son had a mental issues and total nervous breakdown during COVID and was brought to the mental hospital and died. Oh my yikes. That's hefty. That's really weird. I generally talk to my neighbors. The new ones we got last autumn are pretty much rarely home, or we just don't really see them. But sometimes we do hear noises, so we know that they're alive. Then I never speak to the neighbors I have all the way down there because they're my backyard. I I can't even put a face on them because it's like a big. I wouldn't call it. It's like a big panel of wood between us, like a big name wrong, but a sort of fence. There's a big fence between us, which is basically like 2 meters tall, and there are some trees and so on. So I don't even know them, and there's a walking path between. Then the neighbors we have basically in front of me over there, they have been there all the time. I've been here. Very nice people. Actually, they're super nice people. But it's not like we hang out with them daily. But we could easily meet at the supermarket and talk for 5 minutes and then move on to our business, so to say. Um, then a couple of years ago, we got newer neighbors, kind of like across here. Um, and they are kind of busy people. He's a director of some company, and I think she just works because she likes to have her own pocket money, but not because she has to. Um, Within the last 2 years, in Christmas, December 2 years ago, we got new neighbors a bit more like straight out of our window, here to the right, and I don't think I've ever really spoken much to them at all, like ever, never. Like it's more like sometimes I receive the parcel and he comes and picks it up, and that's it. Um, then the next ones we do know and can put a face on, and then behind us are the new ones. I can put a face on them, and they're not much home. Then after that again, which isn't a direct neighbor, he's also been all the years I've been here. So yeah, we are good with most of our neighbors. And I guess we don't speak with all of them because we not necessarily have something in common. Plus, we aren't all the time. I feel like I'm a lot home, but honestly, in reality, I'm not that much home. At least we aren't. We are often busy in the weekends. Lisa says, I think he had schizophrenia. He was scary. He would be outside in the summer and yell about how he was going to kill everybody and burn the house down. Whoa. And then at 3 a.m. That is usually not a good sign. I am really sorry for people who's experiencing mental issues, whichever kind. guess what? We are almost done with this row. And then it's going to be a bunch of double crochets, which maybe if I'm good, I need to check the exact ending of this. Okay, so I do this and I skip this and I go in here and take this one. And we take this one. And we have the two doubles and a treble here. Ta-ta! And then we turn the work, which is super easy. Chain 4, 2 double crochets into the first stitch, and then it's a double crochet in each stitch until the middle. Easy peasy. Just one moment. My in-laws are my neighbors on the other side of me, and my husband's brother lives across the street, which I guess is a good thing because at least you have an idea of who people are. But on the other hand, if you try to keep something secret from them, it's more difficult, right? So I guess it's like has its benefit and disadvantages depending on the situation, but probably mostly benefits. Yeah, more benefits than negatives. Exactly what I thought. Let's see. Now I need to check this. So then we have double crochet there. And now it should be every second in the space and every second in the stitch. I'm really looking forward to having this shawl finished and blocked. So this is a second repeat. And designer writes that the pattern size is 3 repeats, but honestly, what we are gonna do is I am likely just gonna see how far we get, and then we'll work on it based on that. And for crying out loud, next repeat, I don't want to calculate how many puff stitches that's going to be. But that is going to be a lot. That is one thing I can tell you for sure. But so far, we are just chipping along. And we still haven't had the color change, and I we're sort of semi-expecting that to happen this life. Of course, we still have a few minutes to go, like kind of half an hour-ish. So it can still happen. My youngest child has only ever lived beside his grandparents. I love the relationship he has with them. That makes really good sense. I also like that's kind of the concept in Germany. The houses are bigger than here in the Netherlands, and often children kind of like stay with their parents, and they get an apartment in the house, so to say, because they can like have a whole flooring, which could be turned into an apartment, and that's often what happens. And then they have kids where they're basically living in the same house, which I like the concept of. Like, and honestly, I'll be absolutely happy having my mom-in-law as a part um, of our house if we had the room for it, but she would have to have a separate sort of apartment in it, or I'd go crazy. Um, would be the same for my parents in that matter, though I don't think my parents is going to move. Um, that would not be very convenient at all. But the idea is good though, if you have the option to do so. I would have absolutely loved living close to my grandmother. Now I'm talking about my mother's mother. That by said, I wouldn't have minded my other grandmother either. But I had a really close relationship to my mom's mom because if I was sick as a child, they lived on the road to my mom's place of work, so she would drop me off to get taken care of if I was sick or whatnot. Plus, they were the ones with the farm. All the farm animals was like a fun thing to do when I was a child. It was also always something to do there. Like it was difficult to get bored. Um, which is a bit odd because my dad's parents also used to have a bigger farm. Um, though his brother was the one that took over that one. And most of the time, I remember my grandmother, she lived in a house, in a small house. Um, and not on the farm. So I don't consider it in the same way because it wasn't what I remember. I couldn't live in the same house as them, but neighbors is wonderful. Yeah. I think same house slash neighbors. If it's more of an apartment concept that you're not sharing living room, kitchens, etc. with them, um, you might occasionally see them in the hallway. Is kind of the different thing. Um, but then it's also a question: can people actually give you the freedom to be yourself? Like, would you have enough? Freedom sounds really weird, but you get what I mean. Like, do you have enough space? Would you get enough space? Anyhow, we are chipping nicely along here. So I'm actually starting to be sort of optimistic on being able to finish this repeat. Woohoo! Now the only question is if we'll reach to have the color change. What I could do, could move this one a bit closer, I guess. There you have it. See, it's not looking a lot different yet. But I can see up here, this looks like it's with a double. Here too, so it slowly seems like we're getting closer. But we aren't quite there yet. Lisa says we bought our business from my father-in-law. My husband worked for him for nearly 30 years before we bought it. So basically, he took it over as a sort of inheritance, even though he paid for it. Yay! Finished the cuff of my sock and started the heel flap. Woohoo! Sock's getting closer and closer to finish. At least the first one. Don't know if it's the second pair of the yarn that you're knitting or if it's the first pair you're working on right now. As I said, I am sort of debating a sock adventure, but if I end up really doing it, I should most definitely probably leave the project in Denmark for my Danish adventures. Did you get those the needles with this like short V-flip? Did you try them out? It's the first one. Okay. The halfway marker is coming up very closely. I can feel in my hand. The needle will be here on Sunday according to Amazon. Okay. So you're gonna do the second pairs on those, or you're gonna finish this whole pair on the double pointed? I also hear of people that make some on circular needles. I've never tried. I can imagine it's definitely doable. You just need stitch markers. Which could maybe work with like, well, the needles I got from the needles that I got this like in like the Chador cubics, they aren't thick enough to do it. I'll finish these on double point needles. Okay. What size are you using? 3mm? Kind of depends on the yarn, obviously. I think my mom makes most of the socks on like 2.75 or something like that. Which I personally think is like tiny. I have one more pair of socks to finish to make for Christmas, plus I want to make a pair more for myself. And Lisa's using 2.25 millimeter needles. That are thin too. I estimate if I started knitting socks, maybe others would like to have socks, but generally it would be mainly for myself. Which, on that note, would be a really good reason for me to learn to make socks, I guess. Um, Rowan says, well, I need to be off. Have a wonderful rest of your day. All. Oh, thank you. You too. Have a great day. I'll be back Friday. Well, Thursday, Friday-ish for yarn talks. And then next week, Wednesday and Friday for lives, according to plan. My kids are all very excited for hand knit socks for Christmas. How many kids do you have? I know you have a daughter. I know you have a son. But, or now I'm in doubt about the son, but I do know you have a daughter because we've heard quite a bit about her. But how many do you actually have? How many children do you have, Lisa? Like, to spoil everything for you guys, I have 0, and there is no intention of coming either. There's very reasons for that, but I am gonna be the neighborhood nanny, granny, whatever, when I get older. I'm fine with children. I don't mind children, but I don't have a need to have my own. And now we are, me and my partner, slowly getting to the age where it's on the late end. And we are fine with that. We should have done that sooner, but sooner we had different priorities, but we also fine with it not being so, if that makes any sense. That's just how it's gonna be. Oh my goodness. I have one daughter, 2 sons, but my daughter and my older son each have a partner. Okay, so I say I have 5 kids. Yeah. So basically, you have 3 kids and 2 in-law kids. But that feels like 5. Makes good sense. I also say I feel like I have a spare mom because genuinely my partner's mom is a wonderful person. And I have a good time with her most of the time. So she is a bit like a spare mom now when my mom is so far away. Would have been absolutely awful if we didn't like one another. My goodness. That said, I'm still happy she got the apartment where she is now because it's slightly bit further away than the alternative. But I think just how it's set up and divided in the house itself, I think it's also a better place. Not just like because it's half a mile further away. She's still like a mile from me. The only difference would be has been half a mile from me or a full mile from me. I think the mile is just sort of nicer without it at all being far away. Still pretty close, everything considering. She was living in a different city before, about 3 miles or so from us. So she's moved closer, and she wanted to do it. And partially, I guess, because we are in the city here, but also because it was a bit closer to her friends. And now she like plays cards once a week with some friends she has and so on. And now she can walk there if she wants to, right? She's not forced to take a car in the winter or something. She could walk if she feels that's better. For example, if it's snowy, then she's probably more likely to walk than she is to take the car, given the streets are cleared of snow, but could be slippery in the car. Hello, Shabinas and Craft World. You, I believe, are new to this channel. I bid you a warm welcome. Please have a seat. The coffee is at the corner if you'd like a cup of coffee as well as a tea. And I would say grab your crafty stuff and have a sit. Janine, aka Proverbs 31 Yarn. Hey, and good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. I don't know where you guys are from, but I assume you're in the US or Canada somewhere. I am personally in Europe. I am in the Netherlands. So here it is almost getting dinner time, sort of. It is 7 minutes to 5 p.m. here. And it is definitely wonderful to meet you. I am just chipping along here on the LapsangTea Shawl by Red Teapot Atelier Designed. I have a link to where you can buy the pattern in the description box down below if you're interested. It is much nicer once it's blocked, but so far I'm just chipping along. Lisa says hello to all the new people. Indeed, we have 2 new people at once. That's wonderful. In the US, PA, that would be, I should know, PA, that is Philadelphia, I think. Tied and happy to come back from Rhinebabe Fiberfest. Oh, Megan here, she's working right now, but Megan was also at the Fiberfest. I don't know if Megan is still hanging out in the background or if she had to close down for work. But Megan is in New Jersey, as well as Susan. I'm also not sure if Susan is still in the background here. But sounds like I can be jealous because Rhinebeck sounds like a wonderful place to be at if you are a fiber artist. Unfortunately, New Jersey isn't around the corner for me. It would be like a 600 on a cheap day, $600 flight ticket. Oh, we have people still here. Sweet. Megan is still here, working, I'm quite sure. And Susan is also still here, knitting. I don't have a yarn festival here, which is really sad. This weekend, unfortunately, I hadn't the ability, but one of the local stores here, they had like a sellout, which is like, I don't know, it's like 10, 15 miles from here. And they had like an outlet store where they also had like lucky boxes and so on. But unfortunately, I couldn't go because it was just not fitting in. Plus, I had the fear if I originally did go that I would buy yarn, and I really don't need more yarn right now. Like I'd love to have, but and they do have some festivals, but I just haven't gone to them. I've discussed actually with my mom if there happen to be festivals and she starts to feel better in Denmark that we might actually have to consider maybe going to one at some stage. But right now we need to focus on her getting better. Also, we may start visiting some stores in Denmark when my mom gets better. For those new ones, she is unfortunately sick right now And hopefully we're at the stage where we can say she's officially recovering from cancer, but we don't know yet. We will first know after a scan in December, so we are still a little bit pending on that. Janine, did you take the bus with Kelly to Rhinebeck? Shabina's Arts and Craft says, I am crochet lovers. Yes, I did. Oh, you're so lucky. Susan says she could drive to the Rhinebeck, but she doesn't need any more videos. Sorry, any more yarn, so she's been watching the videos. I think I need to look YouTube up for some Rhinebeck videos. It sounds like it. That's what I'm gonna do tonight when I get back from my appointment. Because that sounds like a blast, basically. Personally, I don't need more yarn either, so I'm, I guess, staying away for that reason only. For not, I'm trying really not to, but I have been tempted to go look at the stores. And some of the stores, one of the stores that sometimes come is for the like the value stores. They have a really nice brushed acrylic right now where I'm like, yes, please. But I'm not getting it because I'm like, I have enough. I have enough. I just need, just use what you have. So I've been really good at actually not getting it, even though I am extremely tempted at getting it, if that makes any remote sense. So right now I am rather proud about the fact that I have not gotten it. Yay for me. Yay for me. I need to keep track as we get closer to the end. Ladies, I thought that I wouldn't reach to finish off this row before the end of this live, but guess what? I will, because we're almost at the end here. Megan asks if she's feeling any better, but yeah, that is the question here. I love seeing everyone makes while walking around. Yeah. I think we all love to gather inspiration from others as well, right? I feel I should try at some stage to knit a sweater or a top, but I think I'll start with a cowl. That hand dyed yarn I have upstairs. I'll definitely need some longer needles for that, or for some longer chains, or circular ones, because I do believe it's circular knit. Lisa says I should knit socks. No, 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 no. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. What did I do? Did I have the same at the other end? Now I'm debating if I end up to having too many stitches. Give me a moment, please. Yeah, I'll be fine. I should be fine. I'm not ready to knit socks yet. It's a patience thing. I need to figure out if I want to do it on the double pointed needles, or if I want to do on those half semi bent needles, or if I want to do them on circular needles. And depending on that, I then need to figure out how I best do it. If that makes sense. I need a solid point of attack. And I also have a fair few socks in my stash, so I don't actually need socks right now. Whoops, I almost threw away the stitch marker. But hallelujah. I'm just gonna check for funsies here. 2, 4, 5. Should be the same on this end. Yep. Awesome. That was actually the back side, so what we are gonna do is we're gonna put the face back onto me here, which means that we have to get this green. Oop. And we'll move it a little bit backwards, so there's a little bit easier for me to. And we didn't have the color change yet. We have done a whole live without a color change. This is really a long color changing yarn is the conclusion, which I guess is fine. I just had hoped for the color change, but ladies and gentlemen, and it's close. I can also see that on the yarn, but we're not there yet. I need to hold it up here. No. Yeah, over here. For the best sort of background view. This is where we are at. Ta-ta! And no, we haven't changed color yet, as you can see. But you can also see we are getting closer, and if I show you guys the tip, there's not much dark purple left. But we are still going to have one where it's only one strand of this darker purple with the lighter purple, which is, you can see that there, but you can't really completely see the, need to sort of shade it a bit. Like that. It's like a pinkish purple at the bottom end. Can you join cables together with interchangeable needles you have? I can, yes. I can. I just need to find the right needle sizes and everything for what I want to do. With the interchangeable needles I have, I cable connectors to make the longer cables. I should be able to do that. I just need to check if I actually have needle sizes of one that's kind of comfortable to hold on and so on if I want to go that direction. I think I am gonna knit the cowl first before attempting socks. But before then, I still have this chunkier rib knit beanie I want to do because I have those leftover yarns in my stash, and I really feel that it would be really nice. You know, like it's 3 skeins I will be gone in a snap when the beanie would be done because they're kind of like half done, those skeins. And I still don't know what I think would be amazing if that in reality would be amazing, but you know, time will tell us. And thank you for your warm comments. It's gonna be even more stunning, Lisa, when it's blocked, but you know that. So I can't wait to finish it so I can block it. And Mega says it's coming out so nice. Thank you so much. I think so too. I think so too. But that is, it is 5 minutes past 5 p.m. here, which means it's time for me to get going because I need to fix dinner. And I don't have leftovers that I can just heat up. I actually need to cook. Lisa says, when I decided to learn to knit, I knit a panel, frogged it out, and then I made a sweater. Then I was determined to make socks, so I did. Makes good sense. I'm sort of determined to get stuff done too, but at the same time, I like to be able to do both, but I want to do what I feel like at the moment. And I don't feel like socks yet, but that's because I know our struggle from the past. Bye, Susan. So I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this live from the very start of the live and you've gotten so far, thank you so much for your support. It is very appreciative. I'm going to wish you all an absolutely a wonderful day ahead. And I'll see you on Friday's yarn talk video. And then I'll be back next week with a live on Wednesday and a live on Friday. Lisa says, make what you enjoy. I'm just teasing. Yeah, I know. And yeah, I need to do what I like. And then if I don't, it's gonna be frustrating, and then it's gonna be too long to finish it. So yeah. So I'm going to say happy crafting, take care, and I'm going to see you in next week's live. And definitely, of course, also on Friday for the yarn talk video. Bye.